Sean, I'm getting too into everything. That's that, dude.
Woo!
Are we talking about the playoffs? Are we talking about playoffs? Playoffs? Uh,
Playoffs.
Playoffs. Okay, gosh, it is. It's that time. I swear, it is. It's kind of crazy how quickly the season goes by. I'm,
Yeah,
I'm kind of
yeah.
shocked that we're already
I
at
think
the
if you went
tail
if
end.
you went back to like other seasons in our podcast when we would do like the final week podcast, we would always say the same thing of like, or maybe I don't know. I know I would if like it just feels like yesterday that we were at Nick's house doing our draft. Like
It does
it
kind
is
of.
kind of crazy. It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Yeah, it does. It does feel like it's been just a breeze, but the season's
Yeah.
like already gone by. It's been fucking ridiculous. Here we are now, week 14, and there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, a lot to
So,
talk about. Now
so
that the picture of playoffs, at least who's going to be in is there. We know who's not going to be, but there's still a lot of things to say at this point.
yeah, and I would say if anybody's out there, and you guys tune on in, and you have something to say, you guys should say it. Say it out in that chat. Say it loud.
Yeah.
Say it proud. Say exactly
Speaking
how
of
you
which,
feel.
I do I think the sleeper chat has really come to form like this season, maybe more than others. I just remember because we had that group text for a long
For a
time,
long
like
time, long
years and
time,
years and
long
years,
time.
and
Yeah.
some people liked it, some people hated it. Like I remember I had it on mute because I didn't want my phone blowing up and buzzing and stuff,
Oh,
but
dude,
like
your phone like would walk across the table because there'd be so many like
yeah,
text
be on the
messages.
floor eventually.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I know some people were skeptical to like move it over to the sleeper chat, but now we're like 100% in sleeper chat. I don't remember the last time that text thing was used except for the off season. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's
I
just
I
cool.
would
I feel like
say,
we have good text engagement, good Giphy engagement from the league this
yeah,
season. It's been fun.
it has been fun, and I think you bring up a good point that the league text group chat probably should only be reserved for the off season. Like the times of the year, as crazy as it is to think, there are times. I'm sure everybody who's not in the playoffs has already accepted that it is that time now. But a time where fantasy football no longer matters.
Right.
It's a kind of crazy to think, but we all get burned in one way or another, and we just think, "Ah, never again." That fucking that evil mistress. She
For
always she
some, it's the sweet release of finally being the vice grip around your neck of the cruel mistress of the fantasy season
hmm
may have finally just lifted you into the sweet great beyond. But for some, it stings right now because you had aspirations and maybe you were on the bubble and it just burst. But or you're riding through it going into playoffs. But
so
yeah, it's an interesting time right now.
so should we talk about those bursted bubbles, those busted nuts,
I think we
those
should, yeah, because coming into last week, there were, I think I want to say eight out of the 10 teams were very much still in the picture. I think just Joey and Will were maybe mathematically already eliminated coming into last week, just too
I
far
actually,
behind.
yeah, I wasn't sure about that because it was like, I think you're right. I think they were already, because they were both sitting at 8 losses, right?
Yeah, they only had I think four wins, right?
Yeah. Right now they only have 4 wins, but I was trying to think about last. Yeah. So last week, yeah,
Yeah, and they both lost last week anyway. So they only had four. Yeah, the a few teams had five. Misha and Nate had five, and everybody else had six or more. So
yeah,
there was no way. There just wasn't any way. Even if they won, and because Nick won, Nick was the 6-6 team because he won, that
yeah.
kind of
That,
closed the
yeah,
door.
yeah,
Even if like Will or Joey had won,
yeah.
that sealed it.
I think you're right. I think Nick's win did kind of close the door on all the teams that were going to be making it into the playoffs. Like it was
Yeah.
just that was it. That's going to be the six. It's just the way it is. It's
Yeah, and Nick eked that win out pretty narrowly in
oh,
that
dude,
Monday Night Football
that
game
was a
too.
fucking that was a ridiculous game. Ridiculous
Yeah, it
game.
started off super kind of slow and boring, like not much was really
Hmm.
happening, and then all of a sudden points started coming down on each side.
That back to back the back to back bombs. Uh,
Yeah,
that was pretty insane. That was I heard like I can't remember if this was true or not, but I thought I heard something on TV say that hasn't happened since like the 1950s, since there's been like two
damn.
like 70 plus yard passing plays, for touchdowns like back to back from opposing
Yeah,
teams. But man,
yeah, that is kind of crazy. But yeah, maybe we should just quickly before we get into all the playoff implications, because that will probably consume most of the podcast today.
mhm.
But we got to pour one out for the homies here.
Yeah,
Uh,
there are certainly a few homies. We obviously were talking about, Will and Joey, and Will, and he's sitting in last right now. And and actually, there's something I guess before again, we're just gonna push it off a little bit further. Something else I wanted to bring up about this season, which I feel is either a trend. I'm not sure who it was. I want to point my finger your way. Like, I want to point it directly at you, but I'm still not 100% sure that somebody might have started it first. But the changing of the name thing to literally force the will of the gods, the fantasy gods, to be like, no, fantasy gods, this is what you guys are going to do. I am putting it
yeah.
in my name, and this is going to happen.
I
Um,
mean, the fantasy juju is such a real thing. I'm a superstitious person by nature, anyways, and so I get really caught up in that. And I know I've changed my team name throughout the season before. Other people have done it, but it did there was that thing going on this year with me. I know Phil has changed his name and topically to what's going on for him in the season, and then
right.
Will obviously has been doing it
Joey,
not last place. Yeah.
right.
Oh, and then
Joey
Joey,
did
the
it.
CTE.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. It's just, it was, I don't know. It was an interesting
It's a way to
trend.
make a statement or
Yeah.
just to appease the gods or try to play the game in a different
And
way.
that certainly is a different way. I mean, I will say some of you guys are just like, what you would call it, uh, like, I don't know, like willing it or manipulating fucking
Yeah. Just
time and space.
degen- degenerate gamblers who just need to find any angle to win.
Eh, I mean, shit. And whatever works, works, right? Doesn't matter,
You got to
you know,
try.
you got to do everything you have to. And I feel like Will did, like, for a moment, had that, yeah, exactly, not in last place. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it just didn't work
Yeah, I
out.
was actually, I was trying to remember why did Will's team, why was he, kind of just struggling throughout the entire season? I wanted to go back and look at his draft, and I think some of that tells the story. Like Isaiah Pacheco going down early, that obviously
Mm-hmm.
hurts.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill
Had a,
having a
yeah,
really bad season and quarterback deficiency issues.
yeah.
He drafted Jordan Love as his quarterback, but gave up on him pretty quickly.
Yep.
And Jordan Love actually was pretty sick
Yep.
this
He
year. I
was.
bet he would have liked to have him back. Amari Cooper was his wide receiver too, and that just didn't pan out.
No, even after going to Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly. But he had some, and then I think that's just a lot to overcome unless you get really crafty on waivers or get lucky and sneak some players up. But I mean, he had David Montgomery that was
Hmm.
awesome. Trey McBride was really good.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon obviously
Oh
was
my God,
amazing,
Joe
but
Mixon.
a little too late though. Will was already in such a deep hole by the time
Yeah.
Mixon came back and just busted out. So yeah, just the pieces just didn't come together for him early enough. He got himself really deep in a hole there. But then his team kind of got good at the end, but
It,
the
he,
record just wasn't gonna take him where he needed.
yeah, I feel like he had a couple wins near the end. Because
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
sitting at at in a bad spot for, you're right, like a good
Yeah.
majority of the season, and then I feel
And I'm
started.
pretty sure people were scoring a shitload against him
Hmm.
early on too. That didn't help, but he was also like the lowest scoring team, so it's just like double whammy.
Yeah,
Yep. So pour one out for Will Dub C. I know. Can't wait to get back in the draft next year. See what squad he's going to put together.
yeah, no, it's I mean, former champion, uh, like this,
That is true. That is true.
it just,
Wasn't he the champion? The Derrick Henry? Was it the Derrick Henry year where like
I don't know.
nobody wanted to draft him?
That, yes, because that was like the very first year, wasn't it? Like that Will
Yeah.
was in,
Or
and
yeah, it was like, is Derrick Henry was that like a fluke situation before? He like went in the sixth round and he like was
I
maybe
don't
the
know if he
number
went in
one
like the
running
sixth.
back.
He definitely, was it that far? I do remember,
It was pretty low. It was like the joke of like who's gonna pick him up?
right, and then yeah, he ended up being phenomenal. Um,
Yeah. And here he is again, Derrick Henry, fucking killing it.
yeah, well, dude,
Yeah.
he went to one of the best possible teams he could have gone to.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Yep.
but
All right.
well, and for Joey, I feel like the story is just
It,
written in his name. Like,
yeah, a lot of
God,
injuries at a lot of different times.
yeah, it's actually
Man.
kind of crazy to think of, like, because I feel everybody, this season was dealing with injuries in like one way or another. Like I know I had like Cup on my bench, and he wasn't put on IR when he should have been put on IR. That was a pain in the ass, but just for me. But I didn't have any injuries stack like I feel like Joey
Yeah.
had. Like it just seemed like it
Yeah.
was like one after another, or even sometimes like multiple in one week.
Yeah. It was that for sure. And then some players who like had good stretches but were not consistently good and people just weren't like matching up being good at the right time. Like Bijan,
Hmm.
he was pretty disappointing for a lot of the first half of the season, and then he kind of kicked it in gear in the second half. So that certainly put Joey in a hole. Devon Achan, I mean, he missed a little bit of time, I
A
think,
little
but
bit.
also like the quarterback issues affected him as well.
Hmm.
I mean, he lost Olave, obviously, lost Rasheed Rice super early.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then he had Jaden Daniels that was cooking for a good while, but then it kind of sucked for a little while, more recently too. So it was a little inconsistent. Just like, yeah, Joey had a chance to make a playoff run, but the pieces just didn't line up right for him.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of good pieces, just like you mentioned, like all the way throughout his team. It's just, man, that is just a lot of bad timing. And I mean, he also had, quite a few points scored against him. Um, fuck, who is
Yeah, actually,
so it's John
that's a good.
is in top at the very top with 1834 scored against him.
Yeah.
Will is next at 1830. Nick is next after that at 1821. Then you've got Joey at 1816 and Misha at 1805.
So I actually this made me Joey's team made me think of the FF Awards app
Mm-hmm.
thing that is kind of cool. Like that you can plug our team ID into it and it spits out different data and like charts and stuff about scoring points in different categories. And
Right.
one of them is the bench strength award, awarded to the manager who scored the most total points on their bench
Ooh, I
up
don't
to
want to
now
know.
throughout the season.
So
And
who?
Joey is by far the consensus number one. 947 points scored on his bench. The next closest is 880.
Ooh.
So Joey had some issues of not playing the right guys at the right time, it looks like, as
Well,
well, which is always tough.
yeah, that's, you know what? That's actually something that I do feel um is like like, how like they say like sometimes like your greatest strength could also be like your greatest weakness. kind of thing. Like I feel
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
have a stacked team and that goes down deep into the bench, I feel that's problematic.
It's
Um,
like the mo money, mo problems type
yeah,
situation.
so it's something where I like having my bench players on my bench. I don't like having starters on my bench. Starters in any other situation, but I happen to have slightly better guys like in right now. Like
Yeah,
to me, those starters should be, maybe they should be sold for something. So where it's like maybe I can upgrade one of, my top guys, and it's just I don't know.
yeah.
I
I feel very similarly. Where of course you want to have depth. You never know when a guy's going to go
right,
down, or you
absolutely.
want bye week fill-ins. But yeah, you don't
Hmm.
want guys popping off on your bench left and right.
Dude, I hate.
That being said, the data is showing that it's not make or break necessarily, because we talked about Joey being 947 points scored on his bench. On
Mhm.
the other end, the person that has the least scored on their bench
Is
was
what,
actually
Will?
Misha.
Oh, poor Misha. Poor Misha.
Misha, only
Most the
496.
most efficient
So
manager in our
I
league.
guess you could say he was either the most efficient or just didn't have a lot of depth. I don't know which one it really is, but I mean, he didn't obviously make the playoffs, so
Well, we can go into his team next because his team
yeah.
is kind of actually right next in order. So we talked about Will and Joey. They both finish like 4-9 as we even though it is the last week of the season. It's technically I feel the start. Like the playoffs are starting this week, and we can get
Yeah.
into all the seeding and all that stuff. But for Misha's sake, poor Misha did not make the playoffs. He was one of the ones sniffing at it, right?
Yeah, he was one like Nate, where if he had gotten the W last week, he at least would have been within, you know, a possible, if he got a win and somebody else like Nick or somebody got a loss, like he could have been in there. But unfortunately, yeah, didn't get the win last week.
Damn. And you know what? And he's got a decent team. Man, he's had some hits though. Dak going down, just lost that.
Well, speaking of, just to touch on that real quick, one of the other cool like charts that came out of this is most QB points scored throughout the season.
Yeah.
Uh, Nick is number one, fucking Lamar Jackson, surprise, surprise. But the last place is Misha, and it's like actually pretty far in last
Ooh.
by several hundred compared to Nick. So
Yeah.
Misha definitely, I mean, and that's that in our league with the bonuses and the completions and first downs, like quarterbacks are scoring 40, 50 points. If you don't have a good quarterback, then yeah, you're gonna feel that in our league this year.
Yeah. Definitely. And
I wanted to see. I'll look it up, but I wanted to see who Misha drafted as his quarterback. Oh, it was Dak, right? He had
yeah,
the
it was
Dak
Dak. Yeah. No. No.
CD,
No.
yeah,
It was
Dak
that. It was
CD
the
connection.
stack. Yeah, the
Yeah, you're
stack.
right.
And
You're right.
and dude, the
And Dak was
Cowboys
underperforming, I think, for the most part. Maybe he had a few good games, but I don't
probably a
think he was
few.
like,
Not
yeah,
not what you drafted him for. You did not
yeah,
put that team together, the CD and Dak, to come away with this season. Like that
yep.
that's insanely disappointing. Like the Cowboys don't even I don't even think they have a chance at
Oh,
the playoffs.
yeah, yeah, that went south very fast. And oof, yeah, I forgot Misha's wide receiver situation crumbled quick. I mean, Puka went down week one
Yep.
and missed significant time.
Yep.
Ayuk never got it together and then
No.
went down. Oof, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then there just wasn't really any other. I mean, he had CD who was up and down, but there's no other wide receivers that he drafted. Like Terry McLaurin was like an absolute gem pick. Like that, God, what an awesome pick that was. But that was about it for any kind of pass catchers on his team.
Damn.
But he was the guy that got Jordan Mason on the 49ers super early. Remember that? He was like the
That I would say
fucking
that was the first waiver steal of the
Yeah, I
year.
think it was just a random free agent. It wasn't even waivers. It was a
He had
free
him be yeah,
agency
he had him
midweek pickup out of nowhere. It was like,
yeah,
whoa, what are you doing?
exactly. And then fucking what's his name went down So McCaffrey goes down, sticks
Yeah,
in him like week 2 or whatever, whichever week it is, and the dude just fucking uh goes off.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. Bummer. Yeah, Misha just couldn't find the way to get over the hurdle.
no, damn.
And he wouldn't accept any of my goddamn trade offers for James Conner. I tried to get James Conner so many times
That's
this
probably
year.
one of the only consistent pieces that Misha had. Like looking at Connor's stats, he's got 2 games in single digits. All the rest he's in double digits. Mostly, I see definitely a lot of 20s, an 18 in there, 16 in there, a 9,
Yeah,
one
he's
like
been really good.
yeah,
And Kyron Williams, his other running back's been
Kyron,
really
yeah,
good too. Yep. So good running backs, but yeah, not a lot of depth everywhere else. Make the trade, Misha.
rough.
Make the trade.
rough. And then for Nate, another team that was like you said, like had a had a chance. I mean, I feel that there's some obvious pieces that I can see as like disappointments, like having uh Mahomes on my team. I look at Nate's team and I see Kelsey stands out to me as another like disappointing season. Like I feel like he's
Mhm.
had like what maybe let me pull it up. God, not really a lot. He had 3 weeks where he had like 20 points like consistently, but he's got a lot of single digit games. A lot of single digit games. He's been coming on a little bit as of late, but oof, super disappointing season.
Yeah.
Devonte Adams, I don't think is what anybody like
Oh,
what
that
we
was
were
a
hoping to see.
disappointment.
Mm-mm.
Yep. Yeah. And Debo, oof.
Debo,
That's been a
another
bad season this year.
yeah, man, lots of disappointments.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I'm looking back at the draft again, and Nate, he had obviously the Lamar. We all know that. Zay
Yeah,
Flowers, of course.
yeah. So
Um,
Nate literally traded away the number one QB.
but he also had Josh Allen, who was like what, maybe the number two QB.
I think Josh Allen probably is number 2, or at least
But he just he didn't get the
he's number 5 or
he didn't
number
get
5
the
it says.
treasure he didn't get the treasure chest that he expected from Brees Hall. But Brees Hall has been so frustrating this year.
Not anywhere what you would
Not
like.
even close. No
Mm-mm.
way. Absolutely. Yeah, he's been very disappointing. And you know what? He actually drafted Chase Brown. I think we talked about that a little bit 2 weeks ago because obviously you have him now, but I'm sure he would have loved to have that on his team still.
Dude, it's interesting, and it was definitely a really close game against me and him last week. I would say there was definitely the possibility that he was going to come away. I thought he was going to be coming away with the
Oh
win.
yeah, because he had Jerry Judy on his bench, right?
Oh, dude, if Jerry Judy was fucking in the lineup, that would have been it. I would have been just
Yeah.
cooked beyond. He was going off for like 200 and some odd yards, ridiculous. Um, but yeah, no, it's just really interesting. Like he had, I would say, for the most part, a solid team, but yeah, some notable disappointments.
Oof, Pittman is not very good this year either.
That's another one. Yeah, a lot, like a lot
Yeah,
of
so Nate is pretty not at the bottom, but in the bottom three or four for wide receiver points over the season and for running back points. He's third from the bottom actually in both of those categories. And that's if you're going to be third from the bottom in both of those, I don't know how you're gonna win the season, you know?
no, it's going to be just a little bit too difficult.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I don't know. You can't really call it all in one thing for Nate, but that trade, yeah, it seemed
I'll
like
say
at the moment he was getting some good value for it, but my God, it did not turn out that way.
no. He basically gifted Nick a playoff spot.
But why would you pay so much for both of those quarterbacks in the draft? I still remember like wondering, what the fuck are you doing?
I think the whole joke was always like not giving, like making sure that Nick never got Lamar Jackson, just to fuck with him. Like that is probably actually collusion, just because we all enjoy torturing
I
Nick so
know.
much.
Some collusion
Um,
variation.
yeah, but but no, that was definitely the key piece of this whole thing, because not to say that either of those two players were his starters at the time, but let's just say he doesn't make that trade and he still has Lamar and Zay Flowers on his bench. You don't think he's going to be like, you know what? Fuck. Maybe I might have to just stick Lamar in. I would say if you have the choice between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, which one are you going with?
Yeah. Well, you're obviously going to go Lamar, and that would have been more clear if a couple more, like if a few more weeks went by, because Lamar just started popping off. Like,
Yeah,
and Allen's been great. He's the number 5 QB in our league, so he's
but
obviously been really good.
but
But
there's a
Lamar
big
is like a
there's a
different
difference.
level.
Yeah, there's a big difference between number 5 and number 1.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It's one of those where you kind of think back on it. It's like fuck. Yeah. To me, that was the moment. That's when it happened. Uh,
Yep.
it's just it's a tough go. I would say because he still had a chance, coming this week, but I mean with Nick's win and then the loss, I guess yeah that seals it. And then
Yep.
John, also, I guess we can start getting into those top six
Well, I mean,
spots.
we don't have to go team by team, but I think maybe it's a good time to
Oh, you want to talk about some
start talking
matchups?
about, let's talk about, yeah, the implications of, we got the top 6 that's locked in for the playoffs,
Right.
but
Okay.
the the seeding, the buys, the overall placement and everything is all up for grabs right now. Like nobody is guaranteed any particular spot right now.
Right.
So this week is going to be, it's going to make or break, not make or break, but it's going to be, yeah, huge for how the playoffs actually look, you
Yeah.
know?
Like,
So,
yeah, what the structure is and who's playing who and all that stuff. Um,
yeah.
yeah. No, it's big. That's why I feel it's like the playoffs start this week for sure. It's a not really, but I don't know. I just want to make this week more exciting
It
for.
feels like it because the 6 are already locked in. It kind of feels like playoffs in that sense, but no one's being eliminated this week, which is nice. So
Nice. Yeah.
that's cool. But so there's a 2 game difference, a 2 win difference between you at the top and let's just say John at the bottom in
Hmm.
number 6. So like John and Nick can't get the number 1 seed, but they can both possibly get the number 2 seed.
Right,
Just
because
if, yeah, if the
Phil.
wins and losses with the points and everything.
So who it's I'm 9-4. Phil, you and Chris are 8-5, and then we have Nick and John at the 7-6 teams.
Yeah. And
Okay.
realistically, like I'm trying to just look at the point differential. So Nick is the number 1, has the most points of anybody, and he's about 44 points
Yeah,
above
above Phil.
Phil at the next. So I mean, like that's it's a decent amount, but we see a lot of more than 40-point differentials any
Right.
given week. So it's possible that there could be some big swings where all of a sudden, like maybe Phil, or let's just use Phil for example because he's number 2. Maybe he ends up, down in 5 or 6, and
Hmm.
then John or Nick ends up in number 2. Like that's completely possible just by wins, losses, and the point differentials.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. So, all right. So, okay. Let's go through some of these matchups. Let's
Okay.
okay, first of all, we have a couple, I would say, big matchups. And then,
Yeah. Like play like 2 playoff bound teams playing against each other this week.
yeah. Okay, let's get a quick matchup out of the way. Nate, Misha, you guys are playing each other. it doesn't even matter. You guys just spank on each other, and you're not playing spoilers to anybody. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe that one of them goes off and they get top score of the week and
yeah. You guys are
gets a
just
little
playing
bit of
for
cash.
you guys are playing for cash. That's pretty much it. Then you got so you got me and Joey, and then you got you and Will. Okay, right. Those are the two games that are like where Joey and Will can play spoiler.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. And like you could look at this from the outside and be like, "Oh, you don't even have to play like one of the strong playoff teams." Like it doesn't really matter right now because also there's a lot of impactful buys
Hmm.
this week too. So even some of the strongest teams like Nick's team, for example, like there's no Lamar this
No,
week. Like
no. Nick's gonna have a Nick's. We'll see. We'll see. You know what Nick's team's made of. Because I would say for Nick, just like you said, you possibly have the chance because of how well you've done throughout the season and getting that highest, the most amount of points. Like he could get all the way up to number two.
yeah,
So I mean,
totally could.
it's that's something where getting a buy is huge because it's what like one game and you're in the championship.
Yep.
I mean, that's yeah. So
Yeah.
those buy spots are they're a big deal. So I would say for Nick, not having Lamar, this is the week you need your team to fight, more than anything, to possibly, push you that much closer to your goal, that fucking hoisting that goddamn trophy. So
Here's what else, what I don't know if this is totally unique to this year, but I genuinely feel like of the top six teams right now, I don't really feel like there is any one team in particular or like that's that far ahead of anybody else as far as like just overall strength right now. I mean, if we get into the nitty gritty, you can make arguments in certain ways, but I really feel like all the top six teams are genuinely really strong and pretty evenly matched right now. So I would have no idea how to predict how this is all going to go.
I don't.
I don't normally or I don't always feel that way. When you're at this like deep part of a season, sometimes there are those teams where it's like fuck, like that's a powerhouse right there. I just don't really feel that way this year or
Yeah.
like right now.
I'll tell you what, I will try to feel that way. I'm going to smoke this Bolski and I'm going to try to make some wild and ridiculous predictions.
Okay, this is
Um,
what we want. Yeah,
but okay, so I mean, yeah, other than our two games, which are, we're playing, two guys out of the playoffs, but they both have, chances to do some damage. Um, so we got that. But the big two matches I would say are definitely for um between Phil and John and Nick and Chris. Like,
yeah. I feel like we should talk about those matchups.
yeah, because those are the ones I feel like. So where are you right now? You are ranked third. Okay,
Yeah. So eight
you're
and five. So like, yeah, a lot. I could possibly get into first. I could get the number one if you lose and Phil loses, and obviously a lot of things have to happen. But like by the nature of points and things like that, like it's possible. Um, but I could also end up down in fourth, fifth, or sixth too if I lose this week and don't score a lot.
right, right. Now, so if let's see,
There's almost too many implications to even try and like
to try to figure out.
wrap it all in a neat
So
little
so
bow.
and there's since we know there's no possible way for anybody to fall out of it. Everybody is completely locked.
Yeah,
So the farthest that you can fall, you can fall all the way down to six, right?
I think I can. Yeah, because Nick could win. John could win, and even if well, I'm a little ahead of points compared to Chris,
Yeah.
but so it would depend on points, of course. But yeah, I think looking at points, totally. I could totally end up in sixth place because both John and Nick actually have more points or considerably more points than I do.
So maybe we should do some scenario uh creativity. Like, okay,
Woo.
what do we need to have happen for uh like how high you could go, I guess. So for
Okay.
like for you for instance. So if I were to lose and you were to win and Phil loses, Chris loses,
Yeah. You would have to lose in a way that you don't also like score 20 more points than I do this week because we would have a tied record. And right now I have about 20 more points than you do.
right?
So as long as, yeah, so that comes into play. But
Okay.
yeah, if you lose and score at least um 20 or less more points than I do, then I could take you over.
Okay.
And then I would need Phil.
Yeah, he would need to lose
Well,
to like so
yeah,
because it gets really interesting because if because John is what second behind Nick in points, right? Or is it Phil?
yeah.
Who is it that's
Oh no,
second?
yeah, Phil is in second.
Okay. So man,
But it's all close though. I mean, it's all within like 40 40 points for the most part for everybody.
damn, this is kind of crazy.
Like most people are in the eight, like around the 1800 plus
Yeah.
mark. I mean, Nick's the outlier at 1884, but
Hmm.
everybody else is 1840 or below. So like most people are within 30 points of each other right now. That's why it gets so complicated because it's totally wins, losses, and points all factoring in together for like one single week.
It's crazy. Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. So, all right, fuck. All right, all right. I guess let's start talking about some of these matchups then. So,
That's something we might be able to wrap our heads around.
yeah, because I guess there are too many scenarios. I guess I'm not good enough of like, I haven't
Dude,
even
it's too
smoked Red Bull
much.
yet.
It's no, yeah, I mean, we'd have to like take some acid or something and like go to a, another dimension.
I have heard that the guys that came up with the idea of the double helix, like there were these two scientists, and
Yeah.
they were tripping on LSD when they like created that image, like the
Oh,
what we know of as the double helix today.
man, they're like, "Oh, get this. What if
And
you took a
yeah,
single helix and doubled it?"
and doubled it, bro.
No!
Take that fucking ladder and spin that shit.
And then twisted it
Twist it
around.
and spin it, bro. I'm telling you.
A
All right.
fucking spiral staircase, dude.
Oh, dude, I can see it now, man. Okay. All right, I'm gonna smoke this shit. Okay, which matchup should we talk about?
Okay, let's get into John and Phil's matchup. I'm looking through their matchup right now. Looking at the buys. They both have like little bit of buy impacts right now. Phil doesn't get to play Brian Robinson, which kind of stinks because I think he could be pretty good the rest of the way. But also, John can't play Cortland Sutton.
That's a big piece.
Yeah, that's a big piece. But otherwise, their teams looks like John finally is at least temporarily throwing in the towel with CJ Stroud as his quarterback and let Sam Darnold back in there, which is probably a good idea.
I'm gonna step away for a moment while I just do a
Okay.
cough storm so I don't overtake you.
Okay. All right. Right now it's 50-50 according to the projection, so that always makes things a little more fun. We'll go quarterback wise. I mean, you have to give the edge to Joe Burrow. Just been so fucking money for so long this year. But then you flip it around on the running back side, and damn, I definitely have to give it to John with just Saquon out of his fucking mind this year. Jahmyr Gibbs has been really good too, um, versus Chuba Hubbard, who had a bad week last week, and then Josh Jacobs, and they both have pretty tough matchups too. So John for sure getting the wide receivers, or sorry, getting the running backs, and then wide receiver wise, pass catcher wise, I think it gets a little bit closer here. I probably have to give the edge to Phil. I'm really
Oh.
digging the Jonnu Smith, Jacoby Myers little coupling there in the flex. And John, just Devontae Smith, I don't know. Rico Dowdle, you just never really know right now. Tony Pollard has been a bit questionable. So I think I'm going to give pass catcher slash flex to Phil, and then the defense. I don't know, whatever, chalk it up. Whew, man, I think this is so tough. It does feel. I have to agree with Sleeper. It feels very evenly matched up here.
The only comment that I'd like to throw in after coughing my brains out is that website, the FF Awards dot app thing.
Yeah,
So if we were talking about Chris, right, like in the wide receiver points, being like so far ahead of everybody else.
yeah.
Look at the RB points. I think it's even worse.
Let me see
John,
RB points.
John
Yeah.
and
Oh
fucking
man. Oh
Saquon,
my God. Yeah.
dude, John and Saquon have fucking run away with it. Like Saquon, holy
Should just
shit, is
be
the second,
Saquon
oh,
Glasgow at this point.
dude, second overall player in fantasy.
Yeah, that's insane. And Jahmyr Gibbs, number 5, running back overall on the season.
Yeah,
What is Tony Pollard? Okay, 21. Rico Dowdle, 27. But yeah, Jesus. Yeah, super strong on the RB1 and 2 on John's side. Like that's where his team really stands out. And then for Phil, his team really stands out at quarterback
hmm
and
Josh
like
Jacobs also. Josh
yeah,
Jacobs, I
Josh
think, has really
Jacobs
been
has been
impressive this year.
awesome, especially lately for sure.
Chuba stole Chuba from me
Hmm.
off the waivers. I had dropped him, and he just rode Chuba all the way. Like, oh my god, what
Yeah,
a
he rode
season!
that all the way somehow. I don't know how it fit in, but it did. I think I'm gonna have to go John with just a tiny edge. And the only reason I'm gonna say that is not only are John's running backs that much stronger in general, but
hmm
Phil's running back matchups are really tough this week. Like, I mean,
They don't
you
look
gotta
great. Yeah,
play those guys, but
they don't look. Yeah, they don't look great. I will say though, Joe Burrow against Dallas on Monday night. Like shit, that
yeah,
should
that
be.
should be nice.
He should
That'd be
have.
nice.
He should smoke it. Like,
Yeah, but Sam Darnold against Atlanta, like
yeah, it should.
maybe not necessarily to the same level of smoking, but it should be a nice, good matchup for Darnold though too.
Yeah, John's team does look a little bit more even. But I gotta say, just the whiteouts, I'm not totally in love with.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, you just never know. You could go huge and get like 12 catches or drop a little bit of a dud. And then Pollard and Dowdle are just kind of wild cards. Can definitely be good. I mean, Dowdle was great last week, but I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's tough. I mean, oof,
And like I would almost say personally, I would like to see John win because that I feel like that would help me more like grip at a chance to try and climb the rankings into a top 1 or 2 spot. But honestly, I just do feel like I'd give the edge to John's team.
yeah, like man, this is really close. This is really close.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sleeper's right at the 50-50 right
hmm
now.
Oof. Casey's going up against the Chargers. Seahawks are going up against Arizona. Two divisional games for the defenses. They both got players going on Monday night. Interesting. Both got players going on Thursday night. Interesting.
That's fun.
Fuck. I don't know which way to go. You know
Who
what?
would you rather have win?
I don't know if it's that I really care about rather. I want all of us to have a good time. I want all of us to
No,
have
fucking bullshit. You don't want that.
what I don't want to face anybody. Every
But
single
aren't you trying? You're trying to lock up. You're trying to lock up a bye week, though, right?
so I guess let's see. Let's take a look at it. John is only 3 points behind Phil, but he's like a whole game, a whole game behind. So I definitely don't want John to win because if John wins and I happen to lose, then I for sure am going to be dropping, and I'm going to be dropping far.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Phil, if Phil wins, then he possibly can take my buy spot. By like
But you
he
might not. But you might not drop as far.
right, exactly. So I think I'm going to go Phil.
Okay. Yeah,
And that's just
I get
personal
it.
bias. That's personal bias. There's no actual educational like looking at the teams and what the matchups are. This is just all my
This isn't
gut.
IBM Watson. This is just pure fucking heated heart.
Yeah, this is all emotions.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay. Let's go to the other playoff matchup.
the big one,
That's
Nick
yeah,
and
Nick
Chris.
versus Chris. Yep.
Well,
This
so
one's a little more lopsided as far as the projections. I mean, that has to do with does okay, so
we were
Chris
already
does have
talking
a
about
little bit
this.
of a little bye week, but his bye week implications are pretty minimal compared to Nick's, obviously.
Yeah,
Like Jonathan Taylor,
has been up
that
and
you never
down.
he's been up and down, but so that one maybe there's something in Broncos defense actually. I'm sure he would Chris would love to have Broncos D back in there, but does not compare to Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and then of course say Flowers. But Lamar and Derrick Henry on bye, that hurts. That's
Hmm.
crazy, dude, that they have bye weeks in week 14 now.
I don't. Yeah, that's something I'm not really sure if I agree with. Like that's
So fucking late in the season.
yeah, and if you're a team that got your bye week early, like what a fucking ridiculously long season for you guys.
Yeah.
You got
For
one
I mean, yeah, for both sides, like Lamar and company, they've already had to play 13 games before they're getting their first bye, or some
for their
people had
first like
buys in
rest.
like week 5.
Yeah. No, I don't agree with that. I think I don't know. Yeah. I haven't really given it much thought as to what they should or shouldn't do, but it does seem pretty ridiculous that there are bye weeks that are this late in the season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When it can mean a lot, obviously.
Well, okay.
Thankfully for Nick, he's already in, but yeah, I'm sure he wants more. But um, so yeah, so Chris has more of his starters. Um, he's got, oh yeah, and somehow, oh, this, like, I have to bring this up, man. This is a
I was wondering if
fucking
this was
bone
going.
to pick.
I was wondering if
Bone
this
to
was going to
pick.
come up.
Oh, I forgot. I've been thinking about this multiple times today. I'm like, I can't wait to get in the podcast and talk about this. 'Cause I almost said it in chat, and I was like, fuck it, we're doing a podcast. But John, John, how in God's name do you have still $94 of fab budget and you don't even try to get what a lot of people are saying is one of the biggest waiver acquisitions of the season in Isaac Garendo? I just don't understand it. What are you doing with your fab money? I need answers. So, but for Chris's benefit, he ends up winning the bid for like what, $16 or something
No, he put in
stupid?
no. He put in 23. Nick
Oh,
and
23.
Nick
Okay.
and Phil put in 16 and 15.
Right. even 23s, there's been so many players that are way shittier that have gone for so much more than that.
Hmm.
But obviously, we're deep in the season. People don't have a lot to spend, but here we go. So Chris has got, I mean, that maybe that's Jonathan Taylor on the bye. If Garendo has a great week, maybe he's happy that he's got Jonathan Taylor on the bye.
Man,
Uh,
dude, this I will say I this is going to be an interesting game because Nick's got Jordan Love, who, like we were talking about, has not been terrible. He's not been
no,
terrible at all.
I mean, solid.
Um, he doesn't have his full set of running backs, but he still does have the Tyrone Tracy guy, who I would say
Yeah.
has been like serviceable. Has
Yeah.
even had a
Very
couple
nice. Very nice
couple big
waiver
games,
pickup.
right? For
Yeah.
sure. Still has a Monra, and that's going against Green Bay, so that's definitely and it's a Thursday night game, so that could go very
That's, you
much
feel like
either
there
way.
should be a lot of points scored in that game.
Yeah, I would think so. So that's a big game for him then, that Thursday
And
night game.
the T. Higgins versus Jamar Chase
Yep,
matchup as well. It's kind of fun.
on Monday. Yeah, that's going to
Yeah.
be fun to sort of watch. I really like that this Westbrook
Yeah. Man, he's
a
been scoring
kind.
touchdowns like
Yeah,
crazy.
like crazy. Yeah, so I think that's a decent, at least fill in. We'll
Hmm.
see what happens.
Damn, that's crazy. He's got Westbrook and Thielen as two week 14 fill-ins, but Thielen had a really nice week last week.
Yeah, no, I don't blame him for these pickups.
No,
Like,
you got to.
that's something where I think he's got to find something, and mm, it's really hard for me to call this game because yeah, there are so many implications. Um, Chris ends up winning this with where he is. Let's see, he's at 1804, so Chris ends up winning this, and I lose. He can go all like he could possibly go all the way up to number one if what would it
Yeah.
if Phil loses. So where is yeah, and John's a game behind. So Chris could go
Hmm.
all the way up to number one.
Yeah, he totally could.
At the very least, if I don't lose, then I guess he could possibly go up to number two if Phil loses. And so here's the question. So if where is it? So you guys are what? Eight one wait, 18, and 1804? Wow.
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you guys are
Pretty
really,
good.
really close in points.
Yeah.
So not only does the actual like record matter in this case, it's how many points like both you and him score.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it's so hard to call out what these different scenarios can be because points matter just almost just as much as the wins and losses do, as far as where you're going to end up. Like everybody needs to get the win to like probably secure the top one or two place, but where you go beyond that's really going to depend on points.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And this, I feel like I just have to call Chris's team in this. It's just hard. It's hard to say that without Lamar, without Derrick Henry, that Nick's team would get the win, but I actually feel like it's closer than like the 39% 61 that the projections are saying right now
Yeah. Yeah, I
because
do.
there's just like you don't know exactly like Jalen Warren, you don't know. Garendo, you don't know.
I will
Jaden Reed, you never know. And like even Malik Neighbors recently, like you just kind
yeah.
of don't know. Like so there's a lot of great potential, but there's no guarantees for a
And
lot of people on Chris's side too.
Malik Neighbors only has 3 touchdowns this season, and they're in week
Yeah,
2 and
quarterback play
3.
has very much sullied his potential.
I will say Bowers has been insanely impressive
Oh,
at
yeah.
times. Uh,
Yeah, he like last week was amazing.
yep. Damn. 14 targets, 16 target. Like he's definitely getting fed, which
Yeah.
is always nice to
I think
see.
his floor is pretty high.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I love Amon Ra, of course, love T. Higgins, but I mean there's Jamar Chase on the other side.
Yeah, that's scary.
And then it gets harder to like love pieces on Nick's side. Like there's a lot of potential. I mean, Jordan Love could go off. It really, I mean, anybody could. I don't like Nick Chubb hasn't been anything too special. So yeah, it's just hard. I feel like it's right now it's a little harder to get excited about Nick's team, especially considering Jamar Chase is on the other side of T. Higgins.
Yeah, going up against Dallas, like, oof, that's that is kind of scary.
So I'm gonna go Chris on this one.
It's hard for me to look at Chubb and say, oh, Chubb's not going to do it. Like Amon Ra has just proved it over and over again that he is, yeah, the number two wideout, 15th fantasy player overall. Is that what
Yeah.
it says? Yeah, okay. I guess, yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase, he does scare me. Baker against, who's Baker playing? Las Vegas.
And Baker's
Baker,
got a lot to, I mean, I think he got a little tweaked up injury, but he's got a lot to play for this
yeah,
week because Tampa Bay's like trying to fight for their playoff spots.
yeah, it says he's practicing in full. So, man, he's got a lot of 40-point games. He's not been as great recently. He's had a little bad streak. One 29
Hmm.
point game, but he's got a 14 point, 19-point game against Carolina. But yeah, man, he had such a great stretch for like from week 4 to what was it
Well,
like
he
the
did. He lost his top two receivers for a long
true,
time. Yeah.
man. Well, I'll give a slight edge to Chris, and I would say I think this would be a totally different game if the teams were fully stocked and fully loaded, but
Yeah. Might be a
it
different story.
might, yeah, but right now, yeah, maybe just go ahead and probably lean Chris's way.
Okay. Yep. I'm feeling it.
It's I can't believe we're here. It's sad, sad times. This season is coming to an end. I know a lot of people. Dude, I'm not even sure who is still sticking around. Probably Nick. Like Nick might still be listening. Maybe Phil. Phil might still be listening. Pop in the secret number. What is the secret number? How about 14? Yeah, we'll do that. 14.
14.
Um,
Is that Amon Ra's number?
I was gonna say it's just week 14.
Oh, that makes sense too.
But yeah, it's gonna be a good high stakes weekend.
It's
I hope.
exciting, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm
It's fun when
excited.
it's obviously you personally have a lot to play for, but when it's like scoreboard watching so far across the board,
Hmm.
it's going to be fun. There's a
Yeah,
lot to
no, dude,
look
you're
at.
watching everybody. It's this
Yeah.
is this is paying attention to what's
And
going
you kind
on.
of don't know what to cheer for, so you're just kind of watching and just wondering.
Yeah, I would say this is just gonna be a tough and heavy one. You know,
Yep.
I guess we can all hope
And we
for the.
won't, yeah, I mean, we probably won't know till Monday night.
Uh,
Unless we could know earlier if it's that obvious, but there's some,
no, I
there's
think
some
you're
Monday
right.
night action.
I think Monday night that's when we'll know for sure, like
Yeah.
how all the seeding is gonna go.
Yep.
Oh boy. Well, I really hope, I'm wishing the best of luck to everybody. Saving some for myself. Uh, I don't know how if you're feeling nervous or anxious or excited. What would you say? What would you say you've got going
I
on?
feel I feel pretty content to be honest. Like it'd be great to get a bye, of course, but just the way the last couple weeks went, if we rewind the clock 2 or 3 weeks, like I was genuinely concerned that I would even be able to make the playoffs, and to
Mm,
now be locked in and even be kind of in the mix for a bye is just like, wow, I can't believe that I'm here right now. And like I was saying a couple weeks ago, like my team is in full form for the most part right now. Like bye weeks are done. I got my injured guys back, so I'm happy that at least the squad's here right now. So I feel content, but really hope I could get a bye. It'd be so sweet.
yeah. No kidding. I mean, fuck. Uh, this is it. This is week 14, the last
How
week.
are you feeling? I gotta ask you. You're sitting at the top technically right now, but how are you? How are you feeling going into this week?
I guess I'm feeling as good as I can. Um, the team that I feel like I kind of put together, I feel is most of the team that I've drafted. Like getting cut back has been nice. Puka definitely seems to be kind of like taking over and looking like
Hmm.
the main receiver and uh in LA. So we'll see how that kind of like shakes on out in the long run. But like we were talking about Chase Brown earlier, like I'm really happy to have him as a that replacement because Kareem Hunt was such a big part of the team for
Yeah,
a while. Um, and I knew that that wasn't going to last forever. So being able to have that other piece to be able to like kind of plug in and it seems like he's just been awesome uh since
yeah.
he's I guess taken over. So like yeah, I guess I'm feeling as good as can be. Like you don't have the greatest team, but I feel like my team feels solid. It feels like it's a sturdy little ship. Um,
Well, that's a good
and
feeling.
yeah, it's like that one movie with Russell Crowe, is it Master and Commander? Like I'll
I
be
was thinking of that movie, The Sturdy Ship.
yeah, it's called The Sturdy Ship.
I've never
Yeah.
seen Master and Commander.
Have you never seen Master and Commander?
No.
Dude, that's homework, bro. I'm giving you an assignment as
Okay.
as a friend that's a really really fucking well made movie. It would have won
Nice.
all the Academy Awards if it didn't go up against Lord of the Rings.
Ooh.
So, like yeah, dude, excellent movie. Um, really really
Nice.
cool. And it's basically just what are the I mean other obviously Russell Crowe, but what is the dude that's married to Jennifer Connelly? What's his
Fuck, I don't
name?
know, actually.
He's the guy.
Jennifer Connelly is an absolute smoke show,
Oh,
even at her
dude,
age now.
she absolutely is. This is the guy from. He was in all those like Avengers movies. He plays like the
Oh,
Vision
the Eagle Eye
character.
guy?
The guy with the little diamond in his head.
Oh, wait, no, I don't know who that is.
Oh, he was from. I don't know. Fuck. Never mind.
I'm not really
Paul.
a Hollywood kind of guy.
Yeah, well, I didn't think you were. I was
Wait,
just
Paul who?
Bettany.
Paul Giamatti?
Oh, dude, I love Paul Giamatti.
There actually is, speaking of Paul Giamatti and movies, there's a movie that Joey showed me a couple months ago that's like such a good new holiday movie called The Holdovers. You ever heard of that?
You know what? Is that the one? Uh, I feel like I might have seen like a trailer for it or something,
It's like an
possibly.
all boys
Yeah, like a school.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and he's like one
Yes.
of the like a longtime teacher that gets
Okay.
tasked with like watching over the kids that don't go home for winter break and nobody wants to be there. It's a really fucking good movie, and it's like perfect for the holidays too.
Oh man, okay, that's a good one. I hope everybody is following and paying attention. If you guys are still sticking around, these are all good,
Didn't think
great.
you'd get some couple Paul references, did
Yeah,
ya?
a bunch of Paul references, some movie homework assignments. So everybody's got what they need to do. I hope that everybody has like good time this weekend. Enjoy fantasy
Yep.
football. We've only got a few weeks left. Try to get those highest scores, you guys, as best you can. Best luck to us all. Um,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Let's do this thing.
All right. Well, take it easy, guys.
All right. Later, everybody.